If you've been on my Facebook feed, or if we're friends on Facebook, or if we're linked on Instagram, you've probably noticed here in the last week and a half or so that I had submitted to have a logo designed by or through a company called 99Designs for the Sowing Seed podcast. I've got family members, my son and my daughter, and others around me that do a lot of graphic design. And so most of the work that I have done, I end up hiring them to do it. But the thing that I love, especially when I'm trying to do a logo design about 99Designs, is the fact that I get input from designers literally all over the planet and different concepts, et cetera, to where oftentimes I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for. And by giving a basic brief of what I'm looking for, it gives me the ability then to select from some of the best out there around the world. So what I wanted to do today briefly is, in this episode, Growing the Seed, is just to show you the basics of that process. Because if you're looking to start a business, or you've got a business and you want a new logo, or if you want, any kind of design work for that matter, you might check out 99Designs. I love the way the whole cloud sourcing works, and it's been a big benefit to me here on several occasions over the last number of years. I first heard about this concept from Tim Ferriss in his book, The 4-Hour Work Week, that I read, it's probably 8 years ago. It was just the 10-year anniversary of that book. If you haven't read that book, I would highly recommend it. I know many of you have ended up hearing about Rich Dad, Poor Dad in one of the earlier episodes and have chosen to read that. Well, Tim Ferriss's book is another great book. It doesn't really talk literally about working 4 hours a week, but really talks about developing efficiencies in what we do, and in the process enabling us to accomplish more with the time that we do have. So for those of you that are watching on YouTube on the video, I'm on the brief page, or the background information page for my listing. There's a variety of different price points you can pay for these things. I chose, to be honest, the cheapest price point, which is $299. The more you pay, in theory, the better designers you get, the more designers you get. I also chose to guarantee a winner, which tends to bring more designers, because you're not just dipping your toe in the water and maybe going to select a winner, though you can do that. I chose to, guarantee a winner. So I just go through here, the name of the podcast, the slogan, who's the audience. In this case, target audience is Christian business people or farmers who are looking for regular inspiration. Each episode has the opportunity to be a seed planted in each listener's life. Kind of pick a color scheme, at least to give the designer some direction. Any other notes that you have? Do you want the design to be classic or mature or masculine or sophisticated? All those kind of things. Allows you to pick a few design examples just so you can show at least a general idea of what you're thinking about or what you're looking for. So these were just some of the ones that I picked. And then you have the ability to download any files that might have applicability. In this case, it was just the logo for the podcast currently that my son Zane and I threw together with a picture of me that I had taken here, a year or so ago. So anyway, that's the brief. Now, of that, I had 148 designs that were created in the week or week and a half period of time. And so I'm going to just take you guys through some of them to show you how different they are These here at the top are some of the finalists, so you see a bunch of work from them. But you can see all kinds of concepts, all kinds of different looks. And what I love about the platform is that somebody comes up with a concept, and then you have the ability to give them feedback. And then, of course, they have the ability to work on it and make adjustments and make changes, etc. So it's a work in progress as you work towards getting, closer and closer and closer to ultimately what you hope to see. The three finalists that I ended up going with, or actually doing a couple polls on, this is one of them. I love this image here. In fact, I may end up paying this designer for this logo. So in this case, have two logos that ended up quote unquote winning instead of just one, because I love this circle image, and I think it could have be a great fit in some of the stuff that I'm thinking about doing as time goes on. Another one that it took the designer and I quite a while to get ultimately where we wanted to go is this one. To be honest, I love the font. I love everything about it. It's just one that, because of the coloring and the shading and the gradients in the art, a gradient is the color change here, like in the soil from the dark brown up to the lighter. Anyway, those are a lot harder to reproduce if you're going to print it, or if you're going to put it on a t-shirt, or if you're going to do any of those kind of things. But I absolutely love that design. In fact, to give you an idea, this was the last design. The first one, to show you, let me X out of here, we can get a lot quicker this way. The first one that designer came up with was this one. So you can see how markedly different it became as the designer and I worked together on the image to get closer to what I was looking at. The reason why I didn't like this one was a couple of things. First off, the coloring is not right at all in my mind. Secondly, this S in seed was a lowercase instead of an uppercase. And then thirdly, the podcast is about sowing seed, not about growing them necessarily. So in this case, I've got a plant that's growing here, which shows growth, which ultimately that's what we're wanting to do in all of our lives. But I was wanting to show the seeds being planted, because that is so much about my philosophy in life, is sowing lots of good seed and then letting God do the growing. So anyway, that'll show you, from here to that final design right here, a marked difference between the two. And there were, probably 10 designs that we went through between that first one and this last one to finally get to where, it ended up being one of the finalists. The winner ended up being this one. And the reason for it is a couple things. First off, the simplicity of it. Second off, the designer did an image like you see here in the top row in a couple different formats that is more rectangular and would look really, really good on a square, such as a podcast logo on iTunes or something like that. But then the designer also did this more horizontal image, which you can see at the bottom, which is going to be perfect for the top of our website, etc. So this has a lot more versatility. It also has just, potentially one color or just a couple of colors, depending on what format I choose to use, which is really important, once again, if you're choosing to do t-shirts or if you're choosing to do certain types of printing where every time you add another color, there's just more cost and complexity involved. So anyway, this is the winner. my web guy, Zane, to get everything updated and get me some updated artwork for the show. We will start using this now that I have the actual design files from this designer, Jeff Design, that I ended up selecting his work for. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys, just to give you a feel for that process. You know, if you're looking to do something like this, start a business, need a logo or whatever, I really encourage using a cloud sourcing resource like 99Designs. Spend a little bit more money than what you maybe would, but in the process, you get a ton of different examples and options and get a chance to choose in a contest format, ultimately, the design you want to go with. Instead of just working with, one designer, and in the process, you're only working with them and their view of the world and their artistic style. And if for some reason it isn't to your liking, you've spent the money and you're either getting something that you maybe really don't like, but you feel like you've got to because you spent the money on it, or you got to go back to the drawing board again with somebody else anyway. Anyway, hope that helps, guys. And thanks for sharing this journey on growing the seed.